Here we are, another Locked On 49ers, Locked On Texans crossover podcast for Week 17. We are going to get into the key players and plays, what's going on at quarterback, maybe a couple rookies showing up in this contest, and of course, make some predictions. Niners, Texans crossover style for Week 17 coming up right now.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers and Locked On Texans, this Week 17 crossover. Brian and Eric here from Locked On 49ers. We got Coty and John from Locked On Texans. I'm actually getting more and more excited about this game, guys, because of the recent news, what's going on with these teams, what's going on with the Texans winning a couple games. This isn't a team that's just going to be a little pushover that you're going to be rolling over, right, this week. So, and I guess with the latest news, we got to start with the 49ers because their quarterback situation, and that's the first place we were going to go in this anyway. So to break down the latest, Jimmy Garoppolo speaking today at the 49ers facility, Kyle Shanahan speaking today at the 49ers facility, trying to break down everything going on with this situation with Jimmy Garoppolo's thumb. Let's start there. You guys can ask us some questions about the Niners. We'll ask you about what's going on with the Texans and then make some predictions here in segment number 3 for this pod. But as it pertains to Jimmy Garoppolo's thumb, it's a grade 3 sprain, which is also known as a tear. I don't know why they're calling it a grade 3 sprain. They really want it to be a sprain more than a tear. Kyle Shanahan doesn't want to go to the rookie to play in this game, but Jimmy didn't practice. He had his hand in a bag of something, ice and whatever. His hand was wrapped up. He did not practice. He couldn't go today. I am doubtful that Jimmy G is going to be able to play, but it sounds like George Kittle on local radio just before we went live here with the podcast said he expects Jimmy to play. Jimmy said he'll play through it if he can. It might be up to Kyle Shanahan to try to hold him back and say, no, that doesn't give us the best chance to win this game. But it sounds like Kyle Shanahan wants him to play too. So I don't know. Maybe they are going to push for Jimmy Garoppolo to play in this game. So that's all to say right now. Will it be the rookie Trey Lance? Will it be Jimmy Garoppolo? As of Wednesday evening, when we're recording this podcast, we still don't know. I don't think he will or should play necessarily, but that is something to be determined. Not practicing as of yet, though. So Trey Lance is getting work with all of the ones as far as halfway through the week here, midweek, as we get ready for week 17. I keep thinking it's week 16 because week 17 is usually the end of the season. It's we got an 18-week season here going, guys. This is fun. But anyway, John, Coty, what's on your mind? What is your first takeaway with this 49ers game here, and any questions you have for Croc and I about this game and this team?
Yes, sir. And Brian, Eric, both of you guys can basically take turns with this question. I'm basically going into this game expecting Trey Lance to be the starting quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. And with that being said, what have you guys have seen from Trey Lance? It doesn't matter if it was doing training camp, doing preseason, or doing the one game that he started. Because I think because Trey Lance has only basically played one game, I think it came in a loss against the Arizona Cardinals, it's going to be kind of difficult for the Houston Texans to create a game plan around him.
Croc, you want this one?
I mean,
it's hard to answer because I don't know. Really, is the number one answer because and Kyle Shanahan said he's been practicing well the last 4 weeks, and Fred Warner said he's been carving up the scout team, been more accurate, more decisive out there on the practice field. But it was a heavy quarterback run formula for Trey Lance's first start against the Arizona Cardinals in a losing effort. But I don't know, Croc. What do you think we should expect from Trey Lance?
Yeah, it is tough. I think based on what we've seen early on, even I think preseason and that game against Arizona, we even saw 2 different quarterbacks, right? When it came to Trey Lance in the preseason, he was throwing the ball. His second passing attempt in the preseason was an 80-yard touchdown pass to Trent Sherfield. They did more stuff playing them under center, drop back, throwing the ball and things like that, kind of working on his timing and his rhythm. And then you get to the Arizona game and they did more of like running him and run power, stuff, almost like a kind of Cam Newton hybrid type offense, kind of a Lamar Jackson type offense. And he's not as athletic as a Lamar Jackson, so it definitely didn't look quite like that. It was interesting to see Kyle completely go away from what we saw in the preseason with Trey Lance. And maybe he was like, okay, this is what's going to give him the best chance to be able to get through this game and win. But it sounds like, throughout this time he's been off, and he hasn't played since. I mean, he took a couple snaps against Jacksonville Jaguars. Outside of that, he hasn't really played at all. So in the snaps he did take against Jacksonville, it was just handing the ball off when the game was pretty much over on the last drive. So it sounds like he has improved. Each week he's getting better and getting more comfortable with what it is that Kyle Shanahan's asking him to do, even while running the scout team. I heard Fred Warner's thoughts on how early on he was running around too much during scout team. And finally, he's kind of gotten to the point where he's been more aggressive with his passing, and he's improved from that standpoint. So I'd assume it'll probably be closer to what we saw in preseason, but maybe just a little bit more consistency as a passer.
First, this is my first time ever on Locked On Network. We've had 4 hosts on the screen, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of give it up for us. Yeah. But well done, I want to, ask you guys, and Brian, you can take this one since Eric kicked it off. But you guys have really put together a great backfield, that depth chart. You've had 3 running backs go over 80 yards in a game this year, 2 over 100, the 7th or 8th best rushing attack in the NFL. How proud of you guys with the what are you guys 8-7? How proud of you that Kyle Shanahan, who has been known to schematically beat teams with his run offense, to have those running backs, Elijah Mitchell, who I wish he was playing on Sunday. I really need him for my fantasy Super Bowl. Jeff Wilson, who stepped up. You got Trey Sermon, who hasn't had an opportunity to really play, but he's been able to run the ball whenever he's been healthy and play for the 49ers.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I own Elijah Mitchell in every single league I'm in, and actually in the Locked On Dynasty League, I am in the final against Chris Carter, who hosts the.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah, I'm in the final, and I would like Elijah Mitchell to be my RB2 this week to go with Jonathan Taylor, my RB1. I'd be feeling pretty good about my chances in this one. But and good news there is that he's back to practice, limited but still back to practice.
So there's a chance.
Right. So there's a good chance.
Once and if he plays, knowing Kyle Shanahan, if he plays, he'll run him 25 times.
Yeah.
Hey, and you know what? I need that. And I need a couple of receptions as well.
Yeah, he'll get a couple of receptions, maybe a touchdown. I don't want to get too greedy asking for 2 touchdowns. He'll get in the end zone at least one time. Yeah, and so that'll be fun. And actually, I have some questions for you guys about that run defense, because I think Kyle Shanahan is going to try to go run heavy, especially if Elijah Mitchell's ready to go. The other rookie, Trey Sermon, he's going to be healthy and able to play in this one. So the 49ers will have their healthiest backfield, it looks like, than they've had in months this week. So, and I think, I think Elijah Mitchell's going to play, and I think he's going to carry the load for the Niners this week. That's what I'm guessing is going to happen. But really, to be honest with you, I'm sort of running back agnostic, and I say a lot, running backs don't matter. It's not quite that black and white, but when you have Kyle Shanahan and a good offensive line, they almost don't matter. Like you put a wide receiver back there, boom, 8 yards a carry. You put a running back there, runs it 27 times, 4.5, 5 yards per carry. It's what you're going to get. We've seen so many different running backs be successful in Kyle Shanahan's offense. So no matter who's back there, the 49ers are going to try to run. We'll have some level of success with the run game. And if the defense they're going against allows them to, they'll have a ton of success. And if Jimmy's hurt or he's going with the rookie Trey Lance at quarterback, which it looks like one of those two things is going to happen in this game, then I expect Kyle Shanahan to try as hard as he can to run the football, and we might see 40-plus runs in this game. And if they can do that and get out of there with the win, that'll be just fine, I'm sure, for Kyle Shanahan.
Kyle Shanahan got those Texas roots. He was with the coaching staff a few years ago. Charles Omenihu, another player that we shipped over to you guys, and he's been playing seldomly, but how has he impacted the D-line for the 49ers?
He's made a couple of plays.
That's probably where the 49ers depth is, right? Like the best depth at the D-line with guys who don't have the big names, with Arden Key, Omenihu. There's some other guys along that line, D-line, that you guys probably wouldn't even know who they are. Obviously, Bosa he kicks everything off. Like, he's the one that you guys will have to worry about the most. He's very disruptive. Teams they've started to do more max protection. Tennessee last week, they held Bosa without a sack for the first time, I believe, in several weeks. And a big part of it was max protection. They'd send 3 guys out en route and somehow still completing the ball. But that might be something that Houston might want to do, because if not, Bosa, he's really tough to block and he disrupts games. I think there's a stat out there right now that, at least up until like the last few weeks, Nick Bosa was doubled more times than anybody in the NFL. So that might be the recipe to try to slow him down. But even then, he still has like 15 sacks. So he wins at a really high rate. But yeah, Amenahu, he's done a good job kind of being like a rotation player. He's come in and chase quarterbacks, move quarterbacks off of their spots. I believe he has a sack or 2 as well. So he's been a good depth piece for the 49ers right now.
Yeah, he's sort of become what Eric Armstead was, as a bigger sort of run stuffing end, and Eric Armstead's been playing more of a full-time tackle role because of the depth issues they've had inside of tackle. So he's done a good job. He's in a rotational role, made a few flash plays, hasn't made a huge impact though for the 49ers so far. If you guys have some more questions about the Niners, we can get to those. I do want to talk Texans because there are some points I really want to get into, but I want to tell the folks out there about Bet Online, who has you covered for more props, more odds, and more lines than ever before as football continues its march to the college bowl season and, of course, the NFL playoffs. And you've got college hoops, NBA hoops, NHL, boxing, UFC, your favorite Vegas casino games. If you're a blackjack player, if you are a poker player, if you're a baccarat player, they've got you covered at betonline.ag, which remains your number one spot for all the sports action this new year. Head over to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use promo code Locked On to receive that bonus. For example, if you think that's way too many points that the Niners are giving up with 12.5 against those Houston Texans, you can go to Bet Online and put some money down on that wager. Bet Online is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. So don't wait to take advantage of all those amazing new offers available for the 2022 season. Bet Online, where the game starts. All right, Coty, John, if you guys have some more, we can talk a little bit more Niners, but I do want to get into this Houston Texans team as well, because I have major questions about what's going on in this turnaround with this team.
Awesome. Sounds good, man.
Just plug my computer up.
Uh-oh. We'll have John. I thought John was taking off on us there.
Oh, no, I'm back. Charge my computer.
So here we go. This is probably what most 49ers fans are wondering right now about the Houston Texans, especially when they see a score that I had to sort of rub my eyes a little bit and be like, am I reading this correctly? 41 points the Texans put up on those Chargers. Like, that was wow, after putting up 30. So 71 points in 2 games for the Texans. I know there's been some turnovers that were part of that, but it is like, what's going on with this Texans offense right now? And is Davis Mills starting to maybe turn some heads, maybe change some plans for the Texans front office that might have been heavily shopping in quarterbacks? Will they maybe pull back a little bit on that and say, you know what, we've got a young player here that we might want to roll with for a little while and see what we got in 2022?
Yes, sir. Davis Mills, he has been proving a lot of people wrong, especially over these last 3 games. Of course, you guys know the Houston Texans are on a 2-game win streak, but over the last 3 games, Davis Mills has thrown for 794 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 1 interception. And that 1 interception is very important because when you take a look at, I believe it was like the first 6 or 7 games that he played when Tyrod Taylor was on the shelf due to a hamstring injury, taking care of the ball was one of the main issues that he was having. He was turning the ball over at an alarming rate. However, he has taken a step back and he has improved in all the areas that we wanted to see him improve, from taking care of the ball to making multiple reads and not just depending on Brandon Cooks, to getting out of the pocket and trying his hardest to extend drives. And it's because Davis Mills has taken those steps. It's part of the reason why we have seen this offense look a hell of a lot better over these last 2 games.
Yeah, I also would like to add to that. Coty made a point last week, one of our episodes, that essentially this is Davis Mills' 20th game in the last 3 years because of the injuries he sustained at Stanford. And there's a lot of guys. I spoke to a guy last offseason going into the season that told me how highly rated a lot of scouts had Davis Mills. It was just the lack of the time spent on the field during his collegiate days. So, when we look at his first few games playing in the NFL, they were not the most welcoming, thrown in the middle of a game because your starting quarterback goes out. Then the next game at the time, you're playing one of the best defenses in the league. You have an OC that is completely – you can't trust him. He's never consistent. So when we look at the last couple of games, well, I think it does start with the OC. Tim Kelly, who we've talked very bad about on this show in the city of Houston. Well, he's called a couple of consistent play calling games. But I look at him as a quarterback and I say, well, he just got comfortable. He's comfortable behind center now. We also look at the offensive line, who's played better in the last couple of games as well. We took on a Charger with no Bosa, so now we're going to be going up against a 49er team with a Bosa. We'll see how that affects the turnout. But the offensive line has played much better, but he looks completely comfortable in command of an offense that I think is now more Davis Mills friendly compared to what we saw at the beginning of the year where this guy was a deer in the headlights. Remember that, not Mark Sanchez, Sam Darnold, I'm seeing ghosts. Now, Davis Mills was not caught on camera saying that, but we can understand that when you throw four interceptions in a game or you have 5 turnovers in one game, well, you are seeing ghosts. I don't see that no more. Maybe because we played the Jags and a team that was just very hurt, but I see a different Davis Mills out here at quarterback.
Yeah, Mills was someone that I liked a lot, even so much so that when the 49ers were sitting there at 12 and people are like, oh, they're going to take Mac Jones, I was thinking, hey, I'd rather draft like an impact player on defense or on the offense and then take Davis Mills in the second round because at Stanford, he did do a lot of things very well. And the offense that he ran was similar to what Kyle Shanahan does, a lot of timing rhythm stuff, playing under center, turning his back to the defense, being able to, be accurate on quick throws. His biggest issue was kind of decision making. And sometimes you have those issues when you don't play a lot of games, which he was like, I want to say the number 1 quarterback in the country coming out of high school, but he only played 14 games at Stanford. So, even now, I mean, I think there's still a higher level in which he can get to. He just has to continue to, kind of get those reps. And, hopefully it doesn't hurt the 49ers this week. I like, Brandon Cooks from my hometown, Stockton. I like to see those guys do well. But I do want to talk to you guys a little bit about some of these weapons because, I watched the game and I see, Philip Dorsett, obviously Brandon Cooks, who's having another terrific season. I think he's not just because, we're from the same crib, but I feel like he's the most underrated receiver in the league. No matter who's throwing him the ball, he's a 1,000-yard walking receiver. And then you have Chris, the one that plays with Chiefs.
Conley.
Yeah, played with the
Chris
Chiefs.
Conley.
Yeah, Conley, Dorsett, guys that can really stretch the field. Has Davis starting to get in the rhythm with being able to throw the ball to these guys down the field? And is that where they could potentially hurt the 49ers?
I think so. We saw last week we had 2 big down the field passes, which was something that over the course of the time we've seen through with him this season, we were looking for that. Of course, we know you're going to get those short intermediate routes, which is what they were working on throughout all offseason, whether it was Davis Mills or Tyrod Taylor. But we kind of wanted to see that arm that we heard so much about and his athleticism, getting out of the pocket, using his legs to create plays or extend them. But last week, we saw a couple of big plays thrown down to Chris Conley, which is one of them. Dorsett caught a big pass. His arm is another area that we're not 100% sure about, only because we haven't seen it in the NFL level. We've seen it a little bit in college with the sample size. But the possibility of him and that trend continually to stretch out the field with Conley, Brandon Cooks will be coming back. Nico Collins, the rookie wide receiver that we drafted out of Michigan. And Dorsett, I'm not sure if Dorsett playing. Got hurt last week.
He's out for the final 2 games with an ankle injury.
Yeah, so I would be looking towards Brandon Cooks, of course, to kind of give you guys some issues. And I'm also looking at the confidence of Nico Collins, who scored his first touchdown last week, to kind of hurt the 49ers in the middle of the field because he can take some of those catches. He's a bigger guy, so I don't think y'all going to be able to hurt him too much, even though y'all can tackle over there. I know that much. But Brandon Cooks would be the receiver that I think will really be able to hurt you guys on Sunday.
What's going on at the running back position for Houston? Because, that's one area, especially with the 49ers, you probably want to try to get the run game going and keep these guys honest. I think that's going to be the Houston Texans' best friend. Excuse me. The Houston Texans' best friend as far as kind of slowing down guys like Nick Bosa. You want to give them something to think about and not just have them pin their ears back and rush the passer all day. So how's the running game going, and how effective do you think that'll be against the 49ers, which actually the 49ers run defense has been pretty good this year?
Terrible. It's probably the worst that they ever had. And yes, I know it's coming off the hill. Exactly. And yes, I understand it's coming off the hill where Wes Burkhead ran for 150 yards. Put it like this: Davis Mills is starting to become the real deal. I think Wes Burkhead just had an out-of-body experience on Sunday. Plus, as John said, they was playing a team that didn't have a Bosa. Of course, your guy Bosa is going to beat us. I think that's going to make a difference. But this run game has been terrible. It has been at its worst. As a matter of fact, Mark Ingram, who was traded like almost 2 months ago, was the leading rusher for this team at like 290, all the way up until Wes Burkhead rushed for like 150 on Sunday. So this run game, I don't think they're going to be able to repeat that performance. If they do, prove me wrong. But the run game for the Texans in 2021 has been the worst it's been probably in franchise history.
Yeah, I want to see the stats on that, because Bosa's per game is pretty important in the NFL. We saw what 0 Bosa's per game did for the 49ers last year, and we saw what 0 Bosa's did for the Los Angeles Chargers last week. So having Bosa in the game there is going to be huge for the 49ers. I think it's all going to start with the run game for the 49ers on offense and being able to stop the run game on defense, put that rookie quarterback in some bad third down situations. I think that is absolutely the key to this game for the San Francisco 49ers to come out ahead. Okay, coming up, we've got to make some predictions. I got a couple more for you guys with these Houston Texans and how this game is going to shape up in Week 17. If the 49ers are able to stop the run on defense and run the ball on offense, where would you, if I told you that is going to happen, do you look at this line at 12.5 points and say, oh man, this is going to be a blowout in favor of the 49ers? Or do you think the Texans, seeing how they've played all year, seeing how they're playing recently, can play sort of a grinded out game? And even if they don't necessarily go into the 49ers house and knock them off, do you think they can grind it out, keep this thing close, where it's a late field goal or a late score that wins this game rather than multiple scores for the 49ers in a victory?
That's a very hard question, because the strength of the 49er offense is being able to run the ball. We know that. Jimmy G being healthy and having those moments where he's looking like the quarterback the 49ers traded for is a plus. But you guys can win games if he doesn't necessarily look like that. You can win the game with an average Jimmy G. If you get Wilson, he'll be ready for Sunday. But if you get Elijah Mitchell and Trey Sermon back, that'll allow him to be able to attack defenses with certain ways that he hasn't been able to do in the last couple of games, rather, because they haven't been on the field. I think that'll be hard for Houston to stop. And on top of that, we haven't been able to stop the ball all year when it comes to our ground defense. So I don't think 2 scores is out the ram. Do I see 13 points? I can definitely see that, because once that run game's opened up for you guys, then that allows your quarterback, whether it be a Jimmy G with an injury or Trey Lance who would be making his second start, that allow that quarterback to get comfortable, because now all they have to do is kind of sit back there and pick their poison.
For me, I think I'm going to take the opposite approach. I think, even if the 49ers do come out and run the ball, I still think the Texans have a chance. And I only say that because, yes, they have been horrible at stopping the run, but I think it had more so due to the fact that the Texans defense was always out there because their offense could not sustain drive. Now, over these last 2-3 games, the Texans offense has looked a lot better. That's going to give the Texans defense a breather. And another thing I would like to mention is, early on in the season, it seems like the Texans defense was struggling to get a hold of Lovie Smith's Tampa 2 defense. Now it seems like everybody has found a niche. And, like I just mentioned, if the offense can sustain drives, I think that would give the defense more energy to be able to stop to be able to stop the run. So it's going to be interesting. You know, I'm kind of hoping that you guys are 100% healthy, because I'm dying to know, are the Houston Texans that we saw the last 2 weeks, was it because you was just playing against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who, you know, they've been a dumpster fire all season, and then of course the Los Angeles Chargers, all their players were on the COVID list.
Right, and the Chargers have already had a really bad run defense, and that's
that too
really hurt them, either
like 31
in January or going home very early if they do make the playoffs. And I don't know if they're even going to make the playoffs at this rate. But before I make my prediction, guys, I want to ask you one question about the Texans that I'm wondering about, just because it's sort of a no-name roster and the way that they're turning that thing over. And one of the benefits of a roster like that, right, is you find out who can play, who are of these young players are going to stick around. And there's a ton of like really short-term 1-year free agents that they brought in, so much roster turnover. Is there like a secret superstar on the roster, a guy that maybe 49ers fans have no idea about? And then on Monday, they're like, hey, there's that one guy the Texans have that at least is a keeper. This guy's pretty good. Or this guy I didn't realize was that good. Because I have my idea about one player that might be that name that you bring up. But is there any name, offense or defensive player, that probably most 49ers fans don't know about that has sort of been a breakout player for the Texans? It might be a part of the thing for a while.
Yeah, I got two guys, man. John Grenard, we get him back off the COVID-19 list. And I'm wondering how healthy or how his body's going to react to playing after missing a week, and if he was really sick or how that's going to turn out. But he's a guy that has, you know, from year 1 to year 2, there's been a huge jump in his game. And Tavier Thomas, who just won AFC Defensive Player of the Week, who took one to the house last Sunday, man. People were looking at a lot of the Pro Bowlers that made the list this year at cornerback, and a lot of his numbers was either similar or better. And so, Houston found him. Bill O'Brien, just last parting gift before he left, drafted John Grenard. So those are the two players that I would say that on Monday you may be, okay, well, those two guys are definitely worth sticking around.
Okay. For me, I just go. For me, I would just go with Brevin Jordan, the rookie tight end. I know you guys was asking about offensive weapons that the Texans, have, and what I would say, Davis Mills and Brevin Jordan is starting to put together a great chemistry with one another. So I would say look out for him as well.
Yeah, that was the name I was thinking you guys might say was Brevin Jordan at tight end, and I didn't even realize, because I saw that he was ticking up in the statistic category recently, except for one game. I think he had 0 targets or 0 catches or something a couple weeks ago. But late in the season, he's been doing some things, and he's actually the second leading receiver in touchdowns on the entire roster. Cooks has 5. Yeah. Jordan has 3. Nobody else has more than 1. Oh no, Conley, I'm sorry, has 2. Those are the only players that have more than 1 touchdown reception.
Brevin Jordan, he missed. Well, I'm not gonna say missed it, but he was inactive the first 7 games of the year. So it's gonna tell him what else he could have did with this offense. Can I ask you guys about Deebo, man? I think when I see Deebo is the first player. I'm not gonna say the first player, but he reminds me a lot of what I think the NFL could have did with Devin Hester on offense. Now Devin Hester, he plays a receiver, and of course we know how much of a legend he was with returning the football kicker punt return. But I still think there was so much more Devin Hester could have did to defenses back then. I just think the NFL was at that period of time so slow. But Deebo Samuel, man, you can put him in the backfield. Of course, he's going to go out there and catch passes and give you some yak. He's a very dynamic player. I just want to talk about how of a godsend he's been for this offense so far this year.
I want to let Croc answer that, but I will say I bet Deebo is a better defensive back than Devin Hester was too.
I wouldn't. Listen. You know what? I'm glad my boy Hester made the switch. I'll just say that.
Okay.
Yeah. That's an intriguing one. I haven't heard that. You hear the Percy Harvins, obviously Cordell Patterson, because he's being used in a similar role with the Atlanta Falcons. But Hester, I think, and again, some guys just enter the NFL at the wrong time. Now, he entered the NFL at the right time as far as being a returner, but at the wrong time because, he is someone who I feel like, Deebo, it's not like he's the best pure route runner, right? He wins with, catching the ball and yards after catch. And a lot of times it's slants, it's deep over routes. It's kind of stuff that's schemed up. Then they let his athletic ability take over and do the rest. When it comes to him running the ball. Hester is a freak athlete with tremendous vision. I don't think that he's somebody that couldn't do what Deebo does when they hand the ball to him and he hits the edge and he really hits another gear and he's able to. Deebo's faster than I think people think. And maybe even defenders think, because they're always like, wait, what the heck? Then next you know he's running into the end zone untouched. So that is something that you guys have to worry about, whether it's him just lining up in the backfield or if they do that end around thing where they kind of like toss it to him behind and he just runs around the corner, and they usually block it up extremely well. If they do that, you guys have to look out for that as well. But I do think that a guy like Devin Hester, again, I don't want to say he'll be a 1,400 yard receiver like Deebo Samuel is about to be, but he's someone that definitely could have been good in that type of role.
Kyle Shanahan does such a good job, too, of just manipulating the defense enough where he gets a linebacker because of motion this way, gets a linebacker or safety to move one step over, then brings Deebo back this way, and he has that little extra step to get to the edge, and Deebo's been so amazing at catching the edge. But Devin Hester, that's an interesting one. Yeah, I hadn't heard that comp yet.
I think Deebo is just a very dynamic player, and I hate the Texans let Kyle Shanahan, who was a part of that coaching tree, just – the way he calls plays, man, is just so damn beautiful, especially when it comes to that run scheme. I'm in awe sometimes when they are healthy. You get Kyle Juszczyk as well. Oh gosh.
Well, is Matt Schaub a good comp for Davis Mills?
From what I've seen, good question. From what I've seen, I could see a version of Davis Mills being the version of Matt Schaub, not the better version that was it 2011 or 2012, where Matt Schaub was one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. But I think a year before that, he was still a very good quarterback. And I think Davis Mills is a player, from what I see right now, just have the environment kind of almost perfect, that he can go out there and not lose you games. However, I will say, he's won Houston some games this year in the last 2 weeks where it wasn't perfect, and he's been able to go out there and win in his environment. So Matt Schaub, I think, is a good comp right now. As long as it's not David Carr, fine.
Yeah. Speaking of seeing ghosts, he actually literally had ghosts in the backfield with David Carr did. That was a rough one. Actually, I keep thinking of more questions with this Texans team. So with Davis Mills showing you a little something at the end of the year, does that mean the Texans aren't going to be calling up John Lynch and the 49ers and offering up a draft pick and reuniting Jimmy G with his ex-GM from the New England days there in Houston?
You want it, John?
Hell no. No,
exactly.
Man, we're not going to make a trade for that. You got it, Coty.
No, I was going to say the same thing. Hell no. Like, that's one thing I am happy about Davis Mills showing some promise, because I was a little bit afraid that was going to be a realistic possibility. Jimmy G in Houston after what? Oh, hell no. No.
Okay, the Davis Mills hype is real. Okay, you guys are maybe making me rethink this prediction I've got for this football game. I'm going to say I've got the Niners by 11 in this football game. 24-13 is what I think the final score is going to be. That means if you're betting on that 12.5 at betonline.ag, you might win it on the Houston side of things, but I've got the Niners 24-13. Croc, how do you see this one going?
I like that score. It's weird because with the 49ers, sometimes they just like really dog a team like they did Atlanta, like they did Jacksonville, like they did the Rams. Sometimes they'll come out and just hit teams in the mouth and then play really good defense. The defense is not as bad as people claim it to be. They really do a good job of kind of limiting stuff. They tried to limit Tennessee the other night, but Jimmy Garoppolo did his best to kind of hand the game over to the Tennessee Titans, turning the ball over in giving Tennessee the ball in scoring position, also taking the point off the board by throwing an interception in the end zone. So as long as the 49ers take care of the ball, which is challenging for them, there's an opportunity for this to be like kind of a blowout. But if they do what they've been known to do throughout this year in certain games, where they just do their best to keep teams in the game and turn the ball over and fumble kickoff returns, it'll be much closer than the 49ers would like. And if you have Trey Lance out there, you don't want it to be close. So hopefully for them, they take care of the ball, and it is a score, like Brian said, 24-13, something along those lines.
Yeah, a lot of running the football, a lot of maybe keeping the scoreboard a little closer, even if they're able to win. But hey, the Texans did the same thing to the Jaguars that the 49ers did too. So this is a better team than what the 49ers saw when they saw the Jaguars. That's for sure. I know we kind of went over it a little bit earlier, but you guys, what's your official prediction for this one?
I think Houston creates some turnovers and make it an interesting game. I will say that. I mean, neither one of us is that good with holding on to the ball. We both are tied with 21 on the season. But I think they create some turnovers. I think it's a difficult game at first. I mean, depending on whether it's not even depending on if it's Trey Lance or Jimmy G, I could see Houston making this very competitive in the first half. It's always that second half for Houston this year where I'm dumbfounded by the decision making by the coaching staff. So I can see a 24-16 victory for the 49ers. I can see something along those lines.
Okay. For me, one thing I forgot to mention in the show, Lovie Smith has done a great job making it hard for rookie quarterbacks, and not even for rookie quarterback. Yeah, it's like 8-9 sacks on a year, and not only for rookie quarterbacks, veteran quarterbacks has also had an issue playing against his defense as well, as you saw Sunday against Justin Herbert. And I think the only two quarterbacks that actually had success against the Texans defense off the top of my head is Josh Allen and, of course, Russell Wilson. You're looking at what? Two of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league right now. But I think this is going to be a very competitive game, especially if Trey Lance is under center for you guys. And I can't really pick a winner. I can't really pick a winner, but I think because you guys are able to run the ball, and of course you guys have Nick Bosa, I'm going to go the 49ers 24, Houston Texans 21, because I do believe the hype that we saw these last 2 games is real.
Ooh, that'll be a fun one by a field goal. Yeah. And I think we are all in agreement. And I think most people watching this show, even fans of Jimmy Garoppolo, are pretty darn interested in seeing what Trey Lance looks like back there. So I think we're all hoping for Trey Lance to be back there for the 49ers, just to add another fun element. John, you want to finish it up?
Yeah, I just want Trey Lance back there because I know without a shadow of a doubt, if Elijah Mitchell's playing, they're going to run that ball. And I desperately need people to take a side bets right now. And
hold on, John, listen. Yeah, actually, it might not work in your favor because they do some read option stuff, and there's a chance where on plays where Elijah Mitchell will 100% get the carry, Trey Lance can keep it and take away some of his carries, and it may result in goal line touchdowns. So you might want Jimmy Garoppolo to play because he is going to just turn around and hand it to Elijah Mitchell.
You want injured Jimmy Garoppolo that Kyle Shanahan is afraid of letting throw the ball, so he just hands it off 55 times. That's what you want.
And he does have a hand injury, right?
Yeah, his throwing thumb. Yeah, his throwing thumb. I can't see him playing. I think it's going to be Trey Lance, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. We got a couple days to figure that out. John, Coty, it was super fun doing this crossover podcast. Thank you so much, everyone, for making the Locked On Podcast Network your first listen every day, whether it's Locked On 49ers or Locked On Texans. You can check out Locked On Today with Peter Bukowski. You can check out Locked On Bets with your boy Q. Of course, as always, with every show here on the network, always free on all of your favorite podcast platforms. All of us will be back tomorrow because we're doing it daily here on the network. Talk to y'all then next time.